News at 4. I am Emedion James, coming to you live from Uyo. Let's take a look at the major headlines that we have for you today. Federal government orders Nafdac to suspend sachet alcohol ban. Senate demands full implementation of defense budget, warns against delays. Plus, Turkish court jails a talent manager for seeking to overthrow government. We'll bring you details of these stories and more in just a moment. Please stay tuned. Many thanks for staying tuned. We begin the news at 4 from a national scene where President Bola Tinubu has challenged governors and key federal institutions to shift from resolutions to real-life outcomes, insisting that the National Economic Council NEC conference must not end as another high-level conversation with no measurable impact on citizens. The president, represented by Senate President Godswill Akpabio at the closing of the two-day conference in Abuja, said the renewed hope agenda would be judged by what Nigerians can see and feel, that is, job created, business support, roads and school infrastructure, healthcare, among others. He commended Vice President Kashim Shettima for what he described as steady leadership of the NEC and acknowledged governors, ministers, development partners and private sector stakeholders for their input, stressing that the next phase of national development depends on disciplined implementation across all tiers of government. The conference, held under the theme Delivering Inclusive Growth and Sustainable National Development, the Renewed Hope National Development Plan, produced policy recommendations spanning taxation, all theft, security, social spending, investment, and constitutional reforms. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has appointed Engineer Adaseyo Olusegun Michael as the Managing Director and CEO of the Nigerian Electricity Management Services Agency, NEMSA. This was disclosed in a statement by the presidential spokesperson, Bayo Onanuga. The president also appointed other board members, including Engineer Aliyu Abdulaziz, Executive Director Technical, Ikechi Clara Nwoso, Chairman, Southeast, Zuba Idris, Igaba Elizabeth, Member, North Central, Sayin Shehu, Member, Northeast, Adeyemi Adetunji, Member, Southwest, Engineer Emmanuel Mbe, Member, South-South, and Engineer Charles Asowa, Southeast. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has congratulated the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kyari, on election as chairperson of the Governing Council of the International Fund for Agricultural Development. Kyari was elected yesterday to lead the 49th Governing Council of IFAD, which serves as the organization's supreme decision-making authority. In a statement issued by his Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, the president described the minister's emergence as a strong vote of his confidence in his leadership and the reforms being pursued under his watch in Nigeria's agriculture and food security value chain. The president also expressed optimism that the minister would provide purposeful leadership for the global agricultural development body. From the Red Chambers now, where the chairman of the Senate Committee on Defense, Senator Ahmed Lawan, has called for the full and timely implementation of Nigeria's defense budget, warning that delays could undermine the country's security efforts. Speaking during a budget defense session where the Minister of Defense presented the ministry's 2025 performance and 2026 budget proposal today, Senator Lawan assured that the Senate is committed to ensuring the armed forces receive the necessary resources to carry out their duties effectively. The chairman emphasized that defense spending cannot be postponed, noting that any delay in funding could give an advantage to criminal elements and insurgents. Describing the session as an accountability exercise, 25 budget performance, particularly as part of the budget, were not fully implemented and were instead rolled over into 2026. Meanwhile, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has faulted the Senate over its stance on the Electoral Act, arguing that having both manual and electronic transmission of results in the bill will cause further confusion. Atiku spoke after a visit to ex-military President Ibrahim Babangida alongside Oyo Shehu Makinde at his far to the various levels of the elections, but rather got a mixture of electronic and manual transmission, which will cause more confusion or chaos. Away from that, Rivers State political tensions have eased as former governor and minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, and his successor, Governor Siminalayi Fubara, do away with their rivalry following a final mediation by President Bola Tinubu. Would be the last time. Meanwhile, Governor Fubara, during the inspection of the over 50 kilometers Port Harcourt Ring Road project, appreciated the FCT minister for his contribution to the development of the state. He promised that the project would be completed and delivered by October. The development came after both leaders met with the president at the presidential villa in Abuja. In a separate development, former Minister of Women Affairs Uju Keinde has said that she has no regrets about being removed as minister. Speaking in an interview, Kennedy insisted that President Bola Tinubu could not have deliberately acted to hurt her. She reflected on her time in office, her leadership style, and the circumstances surrounding her dismissal. According to her, she ensured that nothing improper occurred within the scope of her responsibilities while in office. Let's move now to Africa, where Zimbabwe's cabinet has approved changes to the constitution as part of a bid to extend 83-year-old President Emmerson Mnangagwa's term till 2030. Reports say Mnangagwa came to power in 2017 in a military-backed coup that ousted Robert Mugabe, who was president for 30 years. A cabinet statement said the approved amendments include extending the presidential term for 5 to 7 years and having Parliament choose the president instead of the electorate. Justice Minister Ziyambi said the bill would undergo legal scrubbing by the Attorney General before being published and introduced to the Parliament. On the foreign scene, an Istanbul court has sentenced a prominent TV talent manager to 12.5 years behind bars for seeking to overthrow the government during street protests that swept Turkey in 2013. Prosecutors have called for Ayese Barim, age 55, to face life in jail for alleged attempts to bring down the government, charges she has repeatedly denied since her arrest in January 2025. The so-called Gen Z protests erupted over plans to redevelop an Istanbul park, sparking a wave of nationwide unrest against President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who was Prime Minister at the time. Prosecutors had accused her of pushing her actors to take part in the rallies. She was briefly released in October, but rearrested a day later in a short-lived move linked to serious health issues she has suffered since her arrest. So on the foreign scene, United States lawmakers have initiated a new bill aimed at increasing accountability for human rights abuses in Nigeria. The legislation, Nigeria Religious Freedom and Accountability Act of 2026, contains provision for potential sanctions against Fulani militias and former Kano State Governor Rabiu Kwankwaso. The lawmakers claim that the proposed legislation seeks to strengthen the impact of previous U.S. actions in Nigeria. This was disclosed in a post on X by U.S. Congressman Raleigh Morrow. He further noted that the legislation will build upon the momentum of President Donald Trump's designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern and a recent U.S.-Nigeria Security Framework Agreement. Still to come in the news. Spurs sacks Thompson Frank after Newcastle defeat. Stay tuned for details of this in just a moment. Many thanks for staying tuned, and now let's go over to the concluding part of today's stories. On the business news, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has approved the participation of licensed Bureau de Change BDC operators in the Nigerian foreign exchange market, Nafdac, as part of efforts to improve foreign exchange liquidity in the retail segment of the market and meet the legitimate needs of end users. The Apex Bank also approved that weekly foreign exchange purchases by each BDC be capped at $150,000 and that utilization comply with existing BDC operational guidelines. Under the new directive contained in a circular signed by the Director, Trade and Exchange Department, Musa Nakoji, all BDCs duly licensed by the CBN are permitted to access foreign exchange through any authorized dealer bank of their choice at the prevailing market rate. The move, according to the circular, aims to deepen market efficiency and ensure broader access to foreign exchange across the economy. Still in business, Dangote Refinery has reduced the price of premium motor spirit by 25 naira per litre. This means the ex-depot rate dropped from 799 naira to 774 naira per litre. The reduction was contained in a notice issued by the Group Commercial Operations Department, Dangote Refinery and Petrochemicals (FZE) to marketers. It said the move is with immediate effect. In health, the federal government has directed the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control to suspend all enforcement actions relating to the proposed ban on sachet alcohol and 200 mg PET bottle alcoholic product. The government also warned the agency to immediately stop sealing factories and warehouses over the issue. The directive was contained in a statement issued today in Abuja by the Special Advisor on Public Affairs to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Terence Kwanum. Kwanum said the order followed joint intervention by the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation and the Office of the National Security Advisor, which raised concerns over the security implications of continued enforcement in the absence of a fully implemented national alcohol policy. It said although the national alcohol policy had been signed by the Federal Ministry of Health in line with the directive of President Bola Tinubu, both offices insisted that Nafdac must refrain from all enforcement measures until the policy is fully implemented and further directives are issued. Still in health, the Kwara State government has debunked a report circulating on social media alleging that a court member died of Lassa fever at the National Youth Service Corps orientation camp in the state. The clarification was issued in a statement by the Ministry of Health Press Secretary Saad Hamdalat, following an investigation by the State Rapid Response Team. According to the statement, the probe was laid by the state epidemiologist Dr. Kamaldeen Khadija after a social media post claimed that a corps member had died from suspected Lassa fever at the camp. The government said findings from field investigations and a retrospective active case search revealed no evidence of Lassa fever infection or transmission within the NYC camp. It added that no suspected or confirmed cases of viral hemorrhagic fever were recorded among corps members or camp officials. In sport, Tottenham Hotspur have sacked head coach Thomas Frank after less than 8 months in charge, following a 2-1 defeat at home to Newcastle on Tuesday, which left them just 5 points above the Premier League relegation zone. The North London side are 16th in the table and without a man in their past 8 Premier League games, their worst such run since October 2008. Spurs have won just 2 of their past 17 league matches and collected only 12 points in that time. Frank, formerly in charge of London rivals Brentford, took over at Spurs in June after Ange Postecoglou was sacked. He signed a contract until 2028 but was unable to improve the club's league form despite strong results in European competition. Still in sport, Brazilian teenager Ryan has continued his blistering start to life in the Premier League as Bournemouth came from behind to defeat 10-man Everton at Hill Dickinson Stadium. After making a £24.7 million move from Vasco da Gama last month, Ryan scored for a second game in a row to cancel out Iliman Ndiaye's first-half penalty before Aminim Adili put Bournemouth ahead less than 4 minutes later. The victory extends Bournemouth's unbeaten run to 6 Premier League games, whereas Everton are now winless in their last 5 home league matches. On entertainment news, popular Nollywood actress Uche Ogugbodo has shared her opinion on the major cause of divorce. The movie star claimed that the male gender contributes 95% in failed marriages. According to her, most marriages fail because a significant number of men neglect, emotionally abuse, betray or cheat on their spouses. She added that the absence of accountability in relationships and society encourages the trend. Uche is currently in her second marriage. She married her second baby daddy, Bobby Maris, in October 2023 after her first marriage to Norway-based football agent Atto UB in 2013 crashed barely a year after it was contracted. That's all we have for you at this time. To ensure to follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website at spectrumtvlive.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 4. I am Emedion James. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.